Coach.
Oh, shit.
How's practice day, Coach?
It was good, man. It was a lot of fun. I thought there was a lot of competition on both sides. I think the guys are really flying around. They're buying into it, the whole process of compete with a desire to excel and no fear of failure. So pretty excited with the way we're progressing right now.
How do you work in Luke Gifford, just not knowing what you didn't get to see him in the spring, so
Right.
you work him in
Yeah.
right now?
So what we're doing with Luke a little bit is we're not giving him the full body of reps yet because he's got to get his sea legs back. We call him the old man. And you can tell a little bit early on, the first couple reps he had to get his sea legs back, but he's starting to get the flow back to it, starting to get the feel, football movements. Obviously, we trained for it all summer. He did a great job in the weight room and in strength conditioning all summer long, but some of those sudden movements we got to do left to right, he had to get his sea legs back, so I think he's doing a really good job adapting to it.
What about Caleb Tanner? Has he come in? Coming in, everyone knows where he was ranked.
Yeah.
Has he been kind of everything advertised at this point? Or?
I think so. I think he's exceeding a little bit, almost even at some expectations in terms of some pass rush ability. He's got some natural football acumen, which is really nice because a lot of times when freshmen come in and you're expecting a lot out of them, sometimes the mental aspect takes over and they kind of struggle a little bit. I think Caleb's done a really good job of attacking the meeting room and getting to understand where he needs to fit. Now, there's some intricacies, obviously, in the defense that he hasn't quite picked up yet, but I think he's doing a good job of lining up, getting lined up, which is the first step, and then playing calm the chaos that goes on in his mind. So we're teaching him right now that when practice starts to become chaotic with our tempo, when you start to play in the chaos, you got to start to calm things down in your mind so you can relax and start playing a little bit faster again.
Could you say right now that he's at least a situational guy?
Oh, I don't know if you could say that quite yet, but I think he shows some flashes of some potential to be able to do some things for us, yeah.
Okay. Tyron Ferguson seems like he had momentum after the spring. Has he carried that into?
I think he's accelerated it, to be honest with you. I think he's stepped up his game even more so than he did in the spring. I don't know if you could find anybody on the team that's in the meeting room any more than he is. And then his practice intensity is as good as I've had in a really long time. He goes as hard as anybody I've had in the practice field. So you combine those two things over time, it's going to lead to him being a really good player for us.
You've talked to him, obviously.
Yeah,
what
every
do you
day.
think? What do you think clicked with him?
What do you mean?
Oh, I don't know. It seems like he's just kind of caught a wave since you guys have been here.
Well, hopefully it's part of the culture and the atmosphere that we've brought as a program in terms of telling guys to compete with a desire to excel and no fear of failure. That he's not worried about making mistakes. I've given them the liberty to make mistakes, especially early on in camp. You're going to make a mistake. As long as you're making that mistake going fast, we'll get it fixed. And Ferg is one of those guys that's as hard on himself as anybody I've seen. So he internalizes a lot of those mistakes that he makes. And once you free him up from that, it clears his mind and allows him to perform a little bit better.
Hey, Jovan, have you had a chance to size up that kicker, the kickers from?
Yeah, they're doing a great job. I work with those guys obviously every single day. And right now, what we try to do is we try to temper how many reps they're actually getting in terms of full live kicks. Because just like a quarterback, you keep a throw count, or a pitcher, you keep a pitch count. They've only got so many kicks in their leg throughout the course of camp. So we try to make it very situational, very much of a situational deal for those guys. So they're not just out kicking every single time that they can. So we want to keep their leg as fresh as possible. Those guys have done a really good job in terms of distance and accuracy right now.
Anybody have an edge?
In terms of what?
Would you put one ahead of the other right now?
No, not in terms of place kicking right now. It's pretty much wide open, to be honest. Today we worked on a little bit on some specialized kicks, and those guys, it was just an introduction to those guys of where we want the placement to see where the ball was going to go. And so it'd be hard to judge those guys based on just one day.
Anything on kickoff? Is there one guy
With the new rule?
Yeah, well, just like with one kicker, is one ahead of another in terms of...
Well, I would tell you that as we exited spring, I would tell you in terms of kickoffs, Caleb Lightbourne was probably ahead of the game a little bit, but Barrett's done a really good job in terms of strengthening himself. Obviously, he's going to be a little bit limited in terms of his natural stature and size for having the power that you necessarily want, but he's really elevated what he can do with that. So I would tell you right now, if you had to put a gun to my head and say that one guy or another, it would probably be Caleb right now, but I'm not telling Caleb that.